All right, Richie. Grateful to have you on the podcast. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, pro player, coach. So, man, if you could just introduce yourself real quick to the audience, your name, where you're originally from, your position, your age, and where you're currently playing.
Yeah, so thanks for having me as well, brother. Pleasure getting to chat with you and your audience. Yeah, my name is Richard Dixon. I'm originally from Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica, moved to the U.S. when I was 16, and finished high school here. Did all my college here in Florida, and then I've been kind of bouncing around the U.S. as a professional ever since college, man. I'm in my 10th season as a pro, currently playing with Chattanooga Football Club in NISA, third tier in the U.S. Soccer Pyramid. Yeah, 32 years old, and looking to have a few more good years, before obviously, nature calls. So, yeah, I pretty much can play anywhere across the back, and in midfield, I play primarily as a six. But
Mhm.
yeah, center back, outside back, I've played most of my career, and as a six.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice. And you're captaining the side, aren't you?
Yes, correct.
Bro, awesome. Good to see. Yeah. So if you could just take us through, kind of your development, where you started playing, and then where you played college, and then we could go through your pro journey a bit.
Yeah, so my development, I would say my development pathways is a lot different, looks a lot different than what most people, would consider the traditional American development pathway would be. It's obviously changed a lot now over the years with academy, and MLS academy coming in. We
Mm,
have now MLS Next, that. So it's changed a whole lot. So my pathway, grew up in Jamaica. It was just playing football, man, as much as I could.
mm,
When I was a young boy, I would try as much as I can to play with the older guys and with the adults. Come home, finish my schoolwork, throw the backpack away, grab the ball. Me and my friends would quickly run to the field to see if we could get there early to sneak in with the adults, right?
yeah.
Every now and then we would get a game, and most times we wouldn't. But as you kind of develop and you try to figure yourself out, you start to get better as a player. The adults start to have more confidence in you, and they first you gotta go in the goal, then you gotta work your way out on the field, as a defender, and then as you show, you progress. So that
Mm,
was kind of my development in Jamaica. That's kind of how I fell in love with the game, and
mm,
then from there, just schoolboy football, the Costa Cup, and had some national team call ups for the youth program.
mm,
And then I migrated to the US at 16, so kind of, you know, blank slate, so to speak, trying to figure everything out with the culture, with the style of play, with everything. And so, you know, in my family, there's not many athletes, especially footballers. So I kind of had to figure everything out by myself at that time. Finally got on a club team down in West Palm Beach, Florida, travel team. And so played 2 years there, played high school there, did well, all right, but nothing special, nothing too crazy. And me not knowing the culture, about to finish high school now, and not knowing that in that whole process, I was supposed to be looking at schools, right, looking for scholarships and all this stuff, because I mean, I we don't have that in Jamaica.
yeah.
It's you go schoolboy football, and it's either you go straight to the pros or you go straight to the workforce, right? So college wasn't even a thing that was on my mind. Obviously, I wanted to go to study, but didn't even know how the whole process worked.
For sure.
So yeah, just last minute when I'm about to finish my senior year in high school, just kind of went online and emailed about I would say about 50 coaches, just all the addresses that I could gather, email addresses and phone number. I just sent like just email to a bunch of coaches, and some of them replied, some didn't. And then it just so happened that one of them that replied, they were having a ID camp, like
Mm,
30 minutes from where I lived at the time. And so I just, went to the ID camp, say, yeah, just come in, we'll have a look at you, and we'll talk from there. Went
mhm,
into the ID camp, and luckily I was on top of my training.
Mm,
So I went in, toured up, and he was like, "All right, well, let's come up and let's come visit the school and kind of
nice.
just take a look around, see what you like, and so on and so forth." So, long story short, went up. Didn't get offered a whole lot, got offered $1,000 for books, man. But at the end of the day, it was an opportunity, right? I wanted to first of all to continue studying, and then I wanted to continue playing ball, man. So I was like, hey, it's an
Yeah.
opportunity for me to go in and at least earn something more. So went in freshman year, had a great season.
What school?
Sophomore year, got my scholarship up to a full ride scholarship, right? So got everything paid for right after that, and finished now 4 years of college, and just kind of like where I was in high school, not knowing how the system worked. Obviously, being in the college system by that time, okay, guys are getting drafted MLS, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But at that time, I went to a D2 school, man, and at that
What
time,
school?
nobody gets drafted from D2, right? Guys
Mm,
are lucky if they even get a trial for a USL team at that time. So um, obviously wanted to pursue playing at a higher level, at the pro level, but just didn't really know how to get there. And so luckily at the time, I had played for a coach. I had played against a coach, right, in college, who had taken an assistant job at a expansion USL team.
nice.
And so he invited me to an invite only. I got invited to an invite only trial, and luckily, again, on top of my training, right, I didn't know this opportunity was gonna come, but I knew I wanted to continue playing pro. And same thing again, getting a hold of all the email addresses and phone numbers I could, sending out, knocking on doors. But then this one came, went down there, 2-day combine, and the coach at the end of the second day just came up. He was straight up. He's like, "Listen, I mean, you are the best player out here. I want you to promise me you're not gonna go to any more trials, and you're not gonna accept any other offers. You'll have a contract in the mail, in the email on Monday." And this
Wow.
was on yeah, this was on Sunday, like Sunday midday after the combine. So
Mm.
yeah, went down there to Tampa, VSI Tampa Bay FC, for my first season as a pro, and it's been a long story, man. So I'm going to end it there, but the rest is history. Just kind of carrying on since. So I'm in my 10th season currently as a pro.
Unreal, bro. That's a great city to start off,
Yeah,
Tampa, Florida.
yeah, for sure,
Yes.
for sure. I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, when I moved to the US, I moved to West Palm Beach, and I went to school in Pensacola, Florida.
Mm,
So kind of at that time, my whole life was in Florida. I have a lot of family down there, and so having the opportunity to stay in Florida, I was like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. I get to play and I get to stay close to family.
mm,
I didn't at that time. I didn't care how much I was making. Right, I just the opportunity to play, man, and stay close to family was all I needed. I was grateful for that.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said a couple of great things there. Obviously, great journey, but you said multiple times. You said two things. That you wanted to take out any opportunity you could get. That was first in the college game, and then in the pro game, and then also that you were staying on top of your training. Those two things are huge.
Right.
So like you said, obviously now there are more like of these mentorship programs to get into college, more maybe advisement on how to play professionally. Um, but how did you kind of like how did you develop that mindset of you'll take whatever opportunity you can get and you're willing to network and reach out to as many people as possible, because it's a easy to say that, but taking that action is not easy.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think for me, it came back, I would say, just a little bit from my upbringing, and just kind of the environments that I grew up in. Didn't grow up with much, like most of us, man. Didn't grow up with much, and for me, that mindset started when I fell in love with the game, right? And that's something that I probably skipped over. I fell in love with the game when I was 12 years old.
Mm.
When I was 12, I was like, all right, say again.
When did you start playing?
I started playing, I mean, probably like around 6.
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But it was, just a little kick around in the park and this and that, nothing competitive, just playing with friends, playing little local community. Uh, I would say it would be the equivalent of rec soccer, right, here in the US. So just kind of started out doing that at the age of 6 in Jamaica. There's not a really good grassroots program, so there's no, big academies and stuff like that. So it was just you find a ball, you go set up some goals with shoes, or you pull some grassroots up, you put them in the streets, and you kick it with friends, man. And so that's how I grew up playing, around 5, 6. But then as I was turning 12, going into high school in Jamaica, that's when it started to really get competitive. So that's when I was like, man, I really want to take this thing serious. And it was my mom took me to go watch so schoolboy football in Jamaica is massive. You
Mm.
go to a schoolboy football game, there's 5,000 to 10,000 fans just sitting there, right? And these kids, so we start high school in 7th grade and end in 11th grade. So
Yeah.
you're looking at probably like anywhere from 14 to 18-year-old, right? Kids, just like with 10,000 fans, watching them. So my mom took me to go watch the school that I ended up going to go watch the final. They were playing in the championship game. It
Mm.
was like 10,000 fans there, and I went. I was looking around. I was like, holy crap! Like this is massive,
Yeah.
right? This is massive, and there's kids that are not far from my age on the field. And it was at that moment when I kind of started to get the itch, right? Started to get the itch, and then as I was doing my registration and everything to go into high school at 11, turning 12, I went to one of the training sessions of the team and just seeing the guys train and how those guys, man, took it serious and how guys kind of were just doing their thing, man, just enjoying the beautiful game, but at a different level than I had ever seen it before. And it was at that moment that I was like, yeah, man, I think this is it, right? I want to do this. And so went to the tryout, made the team, and I was never a great footballer, right? Was never a great footballer growing up. I was just always the hard kid, just hard nosed, explained and defending, always hard nosed, not overly technical. Tactically, yeah, I understood the game, right? Yeah, for the most part, but the little nuances, we didn't worry about those things, right? So
Mm.
it was when I started taking it seriously at age 12, and I decided, man, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like this feels good. Everything feels right here. I feel like I'm in my zone. I'm in my element. I'm doing what I love.
Yes.
And it was at that moment that I decided I want to play football. And so I think that's where the mindset started. Like
Mm.
I wanted to do everything to make sure that I gave myself the best chance to succeed. Right.
Sure.
And I think it's a lot of players struggle with that, right? We don't necessarily want to think that we're not good at certain things, right? And we live in that denial phase and we end up don't making progress because we don't accept it. But in the beginning, I knew I wasn't a great footballer, right? I knew I
Mm.
wasn't great technically. I knew I needed to understand the game more tactically. And so I was always grinding to be better, right? To be a better passer, to be have better long balls.
Yes.
I was always, wanted to be fitter. I was always wanted to be the fittest guy on the team from a very young age, and so I always worked on those things. And as far as the reaching out and knocking on doors part of it is just being resourceful, man. That's how I was raised, just you just got to make the best with what you have, and if you don't have it, you got to just go out there and try to find it, and so that explains that.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it says it all, and I think, like you said, I think the number one key is being able to accurately self-analyze yourself as a player and as
Huge.
a person, and that's done through multiple avenues. First thing, I think one of the best things is game analysis, really looking at yourself, because it tells you the truth. There's no lying there. Like if you didn't track your man on the counterattack, you gave a couple bad passes away, or your strengths, and I think
Yeah.
it's big, personally, as I get older, learn from more people. I think it's about really capitalizing on those strengths and really trying to keep those mistakes to a minimum.
I think that's one of the biggest cheat codes, man. Like if for me as a player, when I think back to being a younger player, even say go back to college, right? If I had paid enough, if I'd paid more attention to the film, when I was, freshman, sophomore in college, I would have been such a better player, because in college you have the time, I mean, yeah, you have class and stuff like that, but you have the time, man, to go out there and watch film. Okay, well, I'm not good in tight situations, right? As a fullback, to open up under pressure, to find my 10 or my 9 or my, like different things like that. The video doesn't lie because it's right there. So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest cheat code, man, like in today's era of football.
Yeah, and then especially with all this stuff nowadays, you got that VO camera, you got your games filmed, you got Instat, all these things that, and then I think it's about what I wanted to ask you next, but it's about like figuring out what you're doing, quote, poorly, and really hammering that on the training ground. So, for example, like you said, if you're a right back and you're having trouble opening up to that right foot under pressure and pinging a ball, you become friends with your center back, and you just tell him, after the training, man, can you just ping me like 30 balls? Let me take that touch and like put the ball nicely into a couple, whether your teammates are out there, or you create a couple of zones or targets, and then you're looking to play the ball into there. And that's, quote, game realistic training, because, everyone asks for that nowadays, and people don't realize it's about the basics,
Yeah.
so what actions are you doing every single match? What are you doing well? What are you doing poorly? What are the best right backs in the world doing well that you're either doing or not doing? How can you make it better?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to ask you, like you said, twice that you stayed on top of your training. And I think that's the base of everything, staying on top of the fitness, the technical, the tactical, the mental. So how did you do that as an individual? Because, nowadays, yeah, we have opportunities to train with teams. Some people have, may not be in the right environment, but how can we make that environment as optimal as possible,
Right. Yeah. So I think, man, it's just like you said, film is there, and it's about doing simple things, and this is how I like to put it. When I was my first season as a pro, and I haven't even told my journey as a pro yet, right? I just told the first bit. So my first season as a pro, one of the best piece of advice I got from a coach that I went implemented for the rest of my career then on, and helped me tremendously. He told me, if you do these things right, you could take your game right to the next level. Work on going forward, right? Like I said, I was never a technical player. And even still, 32-year-old pro, 10 years in the game, and I'm still every day, thinking and working on those things. He told me, if you work on your decision making, right, it'll make the game so much easier for you. And what does that mean? It means work on your pass selection and your pass completion. That's it, right? So meaning, playing as a right back, I'm not gonna receive the ball and 9 times out of 10 try to ping it to the left winger. That's a poor pass selection. I might connect it. Might be a great ball, but how many times am I gonna set that guy up for success, right? How many times is he gonna be 1v3? When we think about the game, ball swings to your right back, everybody shifts over, right? Maybe you can keep it a little bit, and then you ping it over there, and the next closest teammate to him is 50 yards. So that's a poor pass selection, right? And then you pass completion, right? So what passes can you complete, right? Most. So for me, as a right back, bam, first thing I do, I get it. I'm trying to get it to the next guy, right? That's in a more dangerous area. So maybe sometimes it's my right winger. Maybe sometimes it's my 10. Maybe it's my 9, right? Maybe it's my 6. And that's where the decision making comes down, right? Because you got obviously reading the game and pressure, space, timing, and everything like that. So he told me that, and it didn't really come register to me until maybe like a few months after, and going back watching film, and I'm like, man, every time I get the ball, I feel like I'm just always under so much stress, because I would just be playing negative all the time, because my body position was always off. So the ball is coming from my right center back, my hips would always be facing him and just him. I would never be opening up where I'm seeing the game, right? I'm seeing my 6, I see my 10, see my 9. And so for me to turn, I would have to turn all the way. By the time I turn, I already have pressure. And so it was few months after it started clicking. And so after that, going into the off season, what I did, I just grabbed a friend, man, and came out and say, just hey, just be my right center back, just ping me some balls, right? Lower in the pitch, fix my body positions. And what I did, I just set up cones, right? Set up little gates as my 6, set up little gates as my 10 a little higher, set up little gates as my 9 higher, and then, on my line, maybe a little bit inside, set up little gates as my right winger and just ping it to me. I would take my first touch, open up, and I'm trying to complete those passes. Because in the game, realistically, those are going to be my pass selections, right? So I'm trying to complete those passes as quickly as I can, obviously with no pressure. You have 2 people. And then we move a little bit higher. All right, be my 6. Now ball comes from my 6. I'm hitting my 7, my 9, and my 10, so on and so forth. And that's kind of how I approached it. It's just trying to break your game down, dissect it, break it down and see, okay, where am I strong? Where can I use improvement? And where am I weak? And if you look at that pot right there, you as a pro, man, you should be improving in all 3, even where you're strong. Exactly. You should be always trying to improve all 3 of those spots. And so for me, it was just the constant daily mindset of doing the simple things, but doing them well. Right? Doing the simple things, doing them well, and then doing them consistently. And that for me, it took my game to a whole nother level, because now I was more aware, right? Now I was seeing the game more. Now I wasn't checking to the center back with my hips and my back pretty much facing the game. I was seeing the whole game. So pressure came. Okay, I knew I can bounce it in there, wall pass, get it on the other side. No, I'm in 1v1 with their fullback, right? So now I go from playing negative to the next season. I'm all the way in the other 18, whipping in crosses, right? Getting assists, threatening goal, and so on and so forth. So I think it just all starts with dissecting your game and just, don't drop the ego, dissect your game. Say, man, I'm weak at this. I'm making mistakes here, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So that's how I look at it. But it's also just a mindset thing, right? It's just being honest with yourself.
100%. Yeah. And like you said, it's being mindful and it's being aware. And once you're aware, you can actually fix things. If you're unaware and you got too much of an ego, there's no room for improvement. It's about that growth mindset,
Right.
So yeah, if you could take us, real quick through your college journey. Were you playing as a right back as well in college?
So that's the interesting part about my journey now, Rick.
Oh, you played as a striker.
I played as a 6, right? Okay. Entirely as a 6. My all 4 years, probably every single game as a 6. But I was kind of given a free role, right? Like a box-to-box midfielder. I was started as a 6, but I was given the freedom to roam everywhere. So I was all over the pitch, man, covering every blade of grass. So, and then in PDL, I had a coach who I actually played for my second pro team in Charlotte. He pulled me aside with my first 2 sessions, when he brought me over to Mississippi Bria, which is where I played PDL for the first 2 years. He brought me over and he was like, man, I think you could be a really good right back as a pro. And for me, it's like I'm like, whatever, I'm a 18 turning 19-year-old kid, just want to play football, man. I just want to play football. And he brought me there to Mississippi, who at the time they were a very strong team and good in the PDL, and he brought in some very, very good players that year. A couple of which played in the MLS, right? A lot in the USL, some overseas. So he told me that, and I was like, and I looked at the guys who were playing in the midfield at the time. I was like, all right, fair enough. I'm probably not going to beat that guy out right now, right? It's a 2.5, 3-month season, but I get to play on the field as a right back. All right, I'm a right back. Right back it is then. So that's kind of how I got converted to a right back, which, I mean, growing up, I had always played, like I said, all across the back, left back, center back, and right back. But at that time, I hadn't played it in many years. So yeah, played as a right back and, did very well that summer. And he brought me back the summer after as a right back. And then the next 2 teams I played for brought me in. So I played all my PDL seasons as a right back, my entire college career as a midfielder. And so whenever it was time for me to go pro, the coach that saw me, that invited me to the combine, he saw me play as a right back in PDL. So he was like, yeah, we want you to come in and try it as a right back. So that's kind of how I started my career as a right back and played probably let's say 6 seasons in the USL as a right back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's huge, man. It just shows the importance of versatility and like you said, going back to what we said in the beginning, you take whatever opportunity you can get and you get the most, you make the most of it, I get tons of questions like, I'm a number 6, but my coach wants me to play as a left back or a winger. And just like you said, I always say, it's like, as long as you're on the pitch, you can show your ability,
Oh yeah.
And I think also the advantage of playing multiple positions is whether you're playing, your favorite position as a 6 or you're playing another position as a right back, different scenarios and situations. So you play the guy to this foot, you play him in this space because you've played there before and you know where you want it. So I think that's also a big advantage of of playing in multiple positions.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think if I were to give an advice on that to any young player right now who are worried about, oh man, I'm a 10, but my coach wants to play me as an 8, or he wants to play me as a 7 or 11. At the end of the day, you're a footballer. That's it. You're not a number. You're not a position. You're a footballer. And in order to play at the highest level, you need to understand every single position on the field. Maybe you're not going to play all of them, but you need to understand them, right?
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, you're connecting passes with those guys, right? And so I would advise every single young player that are listening to this or is going to listen to this at some point, make sure that you're competent at least 2 positions, and I would say 3, but at least 2.
For
right?
sure.
So if you're a defender, ideally you want to be able to play all across the back, right?
Yeah.
If you're a midfielder, you should be able to play anywhere in midfield, right? As a 10, as a 6, as an 8. If you're a winger, you should try to be competent as playing as a 9 as well, right? Because when you go into high level teams and high level situations, and now you've only been playing as a right winger your entire career, and you go into a team and they have somebody that's better than you at the moment, that you're not going to beat out for a spot. Okay, are you going to sit on the bench? Where else can you play? Can you play as a left winger? Better yet, can you play as a 10? Even better, can you help the team as a 9, right? And so, man, you're a footballer, and football is football, right? It's just understanding how the different positions work and understanding how the different players connect with one another. So young players, don't get locked into don't label yourself as a position or as a number. You're a footballer, right? And you need to be competent at many different positions.
No, I love that. And a couple of thoughts came to mind. I think, we now think that you should only do position specific training, and that has its uses. Everything, I think nowadays everything's like 0 to 100. It's like there's a gray area, like some people will say, yeah, you shouldn't do ball mastery. It's about, just like you said, it's about getting comfortable in every little pocket of the game, those little details. So like you said in the very beginning, you went out, you played football, you're playing small sided, whether it be, 4v4, 5v5, you're just on the, you're getting on the ball, you're getting touches, you're in different situations, different pressure. So you have to find your way out of it. And I think that's the use of small sided. You get used to just being on the ball and being under pressure and not having a lot of time to make a decision. So you got to start to make quicker decisions, which helps
right.
Big pitch. And then obviously, you do your basic training, your one touch passing, your 2-touch passing, your long balls, your 1v1 defending. And then you could go into that position specific stuff. So I think that's what makes football so beautiful for me. It's all those aspects. It's not just do this and you're going to get here, because you always get those questions of what do I need to do. That's what makes it so beautiful and so difficult. There's so many different avenues that you have to explore. And I think the whole thing is it's this whole journey. It's a self-discovery at the end of the day.
Absolutely, man. The way I look at it is, if I'm a center back, right, I want to understand the role of the next center back, the center back that's next to me, understand the role of the fullback that's next to me, understand the role of the midfielder that's in front of me, or if there's 2 midfielders or whatever, because at the end of the day, you're always playing to those guys. You're always playing with those guys, right? So it's about understanding the roles around you and be able to as well, because the game is as such. The game is always changing, right? Players out of position. Can you slide in and do his job for him, right? Make him look like a better player, which in turn makes you a better player, right? Are you comfortable sliding out as a fullback when the fullback is caught high in transition moments, right? To delay, break up the play or whatever, right? Put the fire out and start a counterattack. Are you comfortable doing that? Or are you just a center back that's just going to stand in the middle of the field, stand in the 18-yard box, right? So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that, man. Yeah, appreciate those words. If we could go, into your pro journey, how it went at Tampa Bay, and then a little bit through the years.
Yeah, so I'll elaborate a little bit on that. So my first year as a pro, it was a good year. Went down there to VSI. It was an expansion team, so the whole team was new, new coach, new players, right? New organization. Went down, did very well in preseason. I made sure I went in fit and sharp, and was doing well in preseason scrimmages and so on and so forth. And this is where the reality of being a pro hit. When at the time, a lot of the veteran guys that the club had signed, they weren't in preseason with us, right? So they came later with like 2 months left in preseason going into the season. As soon as they came, it was like a whole different dynamic, right? Those guys were thrown in, the younger guys were kind of moved back. And it's almost like, man, what have I done? But I was playing well, I was playing every minute, and now I'm not even getting on the field. Exactly. And that's something that I feel like young players need to be prepared for, right? Football, like not everything is this linear path where you do this and you get that. You do this, this happens. So there's a lot of ups and downs, man. And when you have business, politics, and all this thing tied into it, you have to be prepared for that. And so that's something that I wasn't necessarily prepared for, but I'm glad I kind of experienced it so early in my career because it kind of helped me to develop that mindset, right? Of, okay, well, it's not now, but keep working. But anyways, those guys came in, just kind of stopped playing, but still training, still, getting better in training because I'm playing high level football with quality players, high level players in a high performance environment. And so first season came around, first 7 games of the season, didn't see my jersey, right? And at this point, I'm thinking I'm a starter, and young player come in and the chest is big, and I'm puffing my chest, and all my friends are texting me, hitting me up on social media. Man, I can't wait to see you play. I'm so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, first 7 games, didn't see my jersey. Didn't even know what my last name looked like on the back, right? But just so happened I was, again, on top of my training, still with a good mentality, good attitude. And 8 games in, the coach left the team, a new coach took over. And just like that, I was thrown in my first season as a pro as a left back, right? And ended up finishing the season, played every single minute as a left back that year. I think I played 18 games, right? And it was a good experience, man. Good experience. Obviously not the position that I was comfortable with, but I want to be on the field. I just want to play football, man. So made it work, again, went back, watched film, and tried to see how I could make I was very uncomfortable opening up on my left foot to roll that ball down, to my left winger. So I ended up cutting back a lot of times to play into midfield or play back. So watch film and improved a little bit, from where I thought at the time my flaws were, and finished the season out there. Team folds, right? And again, another lesson for young players. It's not all sunshine and rainbows at the professional level, man. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes down that I feel like pros don't tell the true backstory, and that's why I respect you so much, and you on your platform. So hey, just keep it real, man. And this is how it is at the professional level, and this is what you need to do to give yourself a chance, not a guarantee, right? So anyways, the team folded, and so at that time, the league was only 5 months. So I'm back home now and just played 5 months and now have like a 6-month off season. So it's like, man, what am I going to do in 6 months? I'm going to lose everything that I've gained over the season. And just so happened that Charlotte Eagles at the time, they were in when they were in the USL, they had been watching my games a little bit, and I happened to play for the assistant coach in
Mm,
PDL, who
mm,
told me I was gonna be a really good right back at the pro level. So he had just taken a job with the Eagles, and as an assistant, suggested me to the head coach. They took a gamble. They just signed me, without bringing me in. They saw me from playing against them a little bit, took a gamble, signed me, and yeah, went up there, and it was a good environment for me to be in at that time. It was Charlotte Eagles. For those who don't know, it's a ministry. Missionary Athletes International runs it, and it was a really good environment, man. Just a brotherhood, and so I was able to just focus on football, and just get things together off the field. I wasn't in the true professional environment as most would think. Big cities. You go out 3 points and you're on downtown at the bars at night. So I was in a really good environment.
yeah.
Played about 18 games that season, and then from there, at the time, St. Louis FC, they were starting another expansion team, and they were scouting the league and really liked what I was doing. At the time, I was trying to be an attacking fullback. Just trying to get involved in the attack. Create some assists, get involved, and just enjoy the game, man, from both sides of it. So
Exactly.
yeah, they were scouting. GM gave me a call in the off season. Said he liked what I have to offer, and they would like to offer me a contract. And so at the time, I'm 3 years in, right? I'm getting offered a 2-year guaranteed contract. I'm not going to turn it down. I'm like, all right, let's do it. I don't need to explore anything else. And we did that, wrapped up the deal. I was in St. Louis for 2 seasons. Had a 2 good years.
Mm.
First year started off rough. When I first went there, playing probably the best football of my professional career so far.
How old were you
Just
when you first went over
I
there?
was 25 at the time.
Were you playing under
25 at the say again?
Were you playing under Preki over there?
No, I was playing under Dale Shilly. So
Oh,
it was 2015 and 16. So when I went in 2016, I, playing some really good football, man. Things are happening. My game is starting to kind of mature and come together. And I get called up to the national team for Copa America for Jamaica, and
nice.
Copa America and Chile. This was whenever we had Argentina, Uruguay in our group. So get called up to the national team, and at this time I'm at the high, right? And there's so many lessons in here, man. I'm at the high of my career. So I'm feeling good, again, puffing my chest, feeling confident, and that swagger started to come, and
Exactly.
we're playing Minnesota and Open Cup. It was in like April or June. We're playing Minnesota and Open Cup a week before I'm supposed to leave to go meet the team in Chile.
Mm.
And in this summer, I got called up for Copa America and Gold Cup in the same summer.
Wow.
A week before I'm supposed to leave to go meet the team in Chile, go in a tackle, bam, tore my MCL.
Jeez.
And just like that, the entire everything just got swept away. I was 3.5 months off the pitch, so I missed Copa America, missed the Gold Cup, came back in that season and played 2 games. So I ended up playing a total of like 10 games that season, but
Mm.
which was, obviously you look at that and it's like, man, that's sad, which it was. But I would say that was kind of for me a really good point in my career where I learned so much, in that 3.5 months that I was off. You spend a couple weeks feeling sorry for yourself and you're down, why me, this and that. I was supposed to get a good opportunity, go show, maybe get, these are the things I'm thinking, maybe do well, and I go to Europe and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't meant to be, man. It didn't happen. And so, just started to get after my rehab after about 2-3 weeks. I was supposed to be done for the season. And I was lucky enough to come back and finish 2 games, and took everything that I learned from my rehab and that time that I was out to apply to my off season, right? And then came back the next season. I probably had the best season I've had as a pro so far,
Wow.
and a lot of that is just kind of like the way I started to apply what I already knew but wasn't really doing, like all the details. So I studied exercise science in college, and
Love it.
so I always was interested in the body and how it worked and everything, but never really applied those things, right? But it wasn't until I did get injured and I started to work with like a sports performance coach, and he really started to show me some things, and I was like, man, wow, that's interesting, fascinating.
Mm,
So just soaked up as much knowledge as I could from him, and applied those in my off season, and came back like probably a twice as a better player the next season. And from
I love
there, my time ended at St. Louis.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to dive in a little bit to that
Hmm.
situation. Because like you said, man, like, man, you're on top. You had, a couple, highs and lows in the beginning of your career. Like you said, you're at an all-time high, and, this MCL injury happens. What are your, like, how are you dealing with it right away mentally? The first couple days, couple weeks, and then what is the switch? What is the change? The change in perspective. I like to say the flip of the switch that makes
Hmm.
you completely dial in, and you say to yourself, "All right, this is the reality, and this is what I'm going to do to get there." What is that shift? How does that manifest?
Yeah, so for me, it was probably like a couple weeks in, like 2, 3 weeks in. Like I said, the first 2 weeks was tough for me, man. I was locked in my room, because I didn't have to do surgery. So I only did my MCL. I didn't do any other ligament damage. And the MCL is the only ligament in the knee that has enough blood flow to heal by itself, right? So
Right.
like brace you up, crutch you up, and you just shut it down. Still had to show up to training, right? But yeah, I was just locked in my room for like 2 days. I
Mm,
mean, 2 weeks,
mm,
like feeling sorry for myself. Why me? I was supposed to be there. I'm, watching the games on online. I'm like, man, that was supposed to be me. Blah blah blah. Even though the guy that played in my position was Adrian Mariappa, who was playing for Crystal Palace at the time, right? Oh, that was supposed to be me. I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be
yeah,
marking Messi. It's like.
yeah,
But what hit for me was when I started my rehab, right? And the thing with injuries is, man, we can, in like, not even just football, like in sports and life in general, you can't predict when bad things are going to happen. You can't predict when injuries are going to happen, right? And so that was a quote from my therapy. It was like, yeah, because he saw that it was really affecting me, right? My therapist. And so it was that first week of therapy for me when started to talk to him a little bit. Is that, man, I get a lot of athletes in here and they all bounce back, right? Most of them bounce back. The ones that don't bounce back, they eventually do, but a lot of times it's too late, right? It's they rob themselves of all the time that they could use to make progress. And I was like, oh man, like I'm trying to get back on the field, right? I'm trying to play football. Because those
yeah.
first 2 weeks, I'm like, man, I've never had a knee injury before. Am I going to be able to play again? Blah, blah, blah. And so he just give me the reassurance of, yeah, you're going to be fine if you take your rehab seriously, right? And if you do the extras and if you're on top of things. And
Mm,
so that was kind of where it kind of started for me. And when it really flicked was like the first couple of weeks doing therapy and seeing the little progress that I was making. And for
exactly.
me, I'm a big believer in, you know, making little steps, right? Brick by brick. And then in the long run, you make a lot of progress. And so
So,
it was like 2 weeks into therapy when I was seeing the little progress, like, man, I'm getting more stability in the knee now, right? I'm able to not run, but I'm able to speed walk, and then a week later I'm able to jog a little bit. And then, I'm able to pass a ball a little. And for me, that was when it kind of flicked, like, okay, man, like this is actually all up to me. This is
mm,
all up to me. So if, yeah, I need to put the work in, I need to do the extras. So that's when I started asking questions. What can I do better? What can help to speed me up? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? And just, like I said, soaking up as much knowledge as I could. And that was the light switch moment when I was like, I mean, I have a choice to make. It's either I can keep feeling sorry for myself and stay in that dark place that I was the first 2 weeks and not make progress, or I can keep doing this. And even though I'm not going to be back on the field tomorrow, but I'm making a little progress. I'm able to do a little bit more each day.
mm,
So let's just continue, and maybe I'll be able to get back on the field this season. And that's what I did, and that's what happened.
100%. Yeah, man, you nailed it right on the head, man. I think obviously we hear the quote of like, enjoy the process and take small steps, and Rome wasn't built in a day. But
Right.
until, like you said, until you get put in that situation of discomfort of, missing the game that you love, that you do every single day, you don't realize it's like, then you really become grateful for all, like you said, those tiny milestones, being able to walk, speed walk, jog, sprint, and I think that really teaches you, during and after the injury, to first of all be grateful that, you get to do it every single day.
Yep.
You never know when it's going to be taken away from you. And then the second thing is to enjoy those little milestones, whether it's, in season, off season, and really trying to enjoy the present moment in every step of the way,
Yep. Do simple things consistently well. That's a motto that I live by, and it's within football, within training, within rehab. And if you have that mindset, right, where you don't expect any big gains too quickly, right? You just expect that, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I might not get the result right away. It might be a week down the road, right?
Yeah.
Or it might be a couple weeks down the road. But if I know if I keep doing it and I keep doing it, I'm gonna get better, I'm gonna get fitter, I'm gonna get sharper, I'm gonna get stronger, whatever it is.
Exactly.
But it's not the immediate result, because I feel like that's kind of life today, right? We live in this instant gratification world where, oh man, I do this, I should get that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just do the simple things, do them well, and in time it's gonna add up, and it's gonna add that compound effect. Maybe 6 months down the road, it's gonna be massive, right? Because now you're building a really strong foundation that nobody can break, right? No, because you've been doing the work and you've been building from the bottom. When you get there, it's like somebody maybe able to knock it on a notch, but you're still up there, right?
Exactly.
And so that applies to whether you're doing strength work in the gym, right? Whether you're doing fitness on the field, whether you're doing your technical work, it applies to everything, man. Just continue to stack the simple things on one another, and eventually, when you start doing the complicated thing, you won't be able to mess up, right? You won't be able to be stopped, because those are all built from a really good foundation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. I always say, do the simple things, and then those more complex things will be so much easier. And then, like you said, it's about building that positive momentum. Once you really get into that zone, it's just, you just keep on moving. You keep on moving forward.
Yeah, so, man. Yeah, it's a lot of I'll say this too. Football and sports, I feel like in general, is a culture of where you see the players at certain level, whether it's you're on the top half of the team or the top half of the league, blah blah. And it's a culture where players puff their chest, right? Like I said, I got called up national team and I'm puffing my chest, and I got humbled. I got humbled by the game, man. It's like, well, that's not how you're supposed to act. Bam, injury, and I'm out. I lost it all. And it's a culture where everybody's flexing and everybody's, puffing the chest and everybody's doing that. But I would say, just for young players, just to be humble with your success, be humble with your progress, and always knowing that you have so much more to go, man, because there's always going to be a player out there that's better than you, right? There's always going to be, think about how many footballers are in this world, man. There's always going to be a player out there that's better than you, that's fitter than you, that's more skillful than you, right? That knows the game, can read the game better than you. So it's about making progress, but being humble about it, right? Being humble about it and just always going, okay, I need to learn more, right? I need to be better, 1% each day. So yeah, that's just a mindset tip for me for young players, because I learned it early, luckily.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, just like you said, football is a revolving door. And I think, you pointed out multiple times in this, conversation, it's about being a student of the game, a student of life, always willing to learn more, search for new information for yourself to improve,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So after the MCL injury coming back, what was the rest of the way?
Yeah. So next season came back, and like I said, applied everything that I learned from my rehab and from that time that I was out. and started to dive a little bit more deeper now in my field, so to speak. I studied exercise science, so started to dive deeper into, man, like because after seeing the progress that I made from being injured and coming back, and like, I was like, wow, like if I can continue to like get better in this field and keep adding on this, like, man, the sky's the limit. So, started to dive deeper in that and started to apply what I was learning to my game. And so came back in the second season with St. Louis, and had a great season, man. And individually, I would say, and then from there, OKC Energy FC, who was my second team at the time, the coach, we played them 4 times, and every time that I played them, I was like a winger and a fullback at the same time.
Yeah.
And so after every game, the coach would come up to me. Jimmy Nielsen, who won MLS Cup, is Danish legend. He came up to me, he's like, man, like, to be honest, we played you 4 times and I didn't know what to do with you. Like all the scout was about how we can stop the fullback. And I was like, all right. So it's like after the last game, he asked me, hey, what's going on? You like it here? And I didn't put it together at that time, but because obviously contract, you gotta be careful of how you scout players and stuff. So anyways, he liked me enough to, in the off season, I was leaving St. Louis, and right away, my agent, he connected with my agent and offered me a contract there, and went over to OKC. Had a really good first year. We went to the conference final, Western Conference final of the league. A really good group of guys. Some top players. And so had a really, really good year there, man. I would say to that point, I was having like the best year of my career again.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Nielsen left the club with the staff. New coach came in, so I had renewed my contract there. Played a second year there, did well, but the team didn't do well, and I just kind of wanted something new. I had been in the Midwest for at that time 4 years. And was just looking for something new. I wanted to move back East Coast, close to friends and family, and just somewhere where I could, settle down and start to kind of build roots with the game, and in the community and stuff like that. And Chattanooga Red Wolves at the time, they were starting something new in League One, USL League One. League was about to be launched, and new club, and new everything. And that's obviously you came to Chattanooga and you probably know a little bit. It's kind of a sore topic. So,
Sure.
But anyways, went there and dealt with another setback, right? I had surgery on my foot. I was out for most of the season, played only 6 games there, and ended up leaving, coming over to Chattanooga Football Club, which is where I've been playing in NISA for, this is my 3rd season with Chattanooga Football Club. So,
Nice.
Yeah, that's the long journey, man. 10-year journey.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, I love it, man. And you guys, like we spoke about before we went live, you guys are really doing well this season. I know you went pretty far in the Open Cup. You ended up playing Atlanta United. How was that experience?
Oh, that was it was good. It was a really good experience, man. Obviously, the result didn't even get close to going our way, but it was a top experience for the club and for a lot of the young guys on the team that are trying to, make a move to that next level. And what better way, man, but to play against one of the top teams in North America, and had a really good game against Memphis, beat them 3-1, I think, at home. Then went to play Atlanta United, and they're a top team, right? They're $81 million payroll, and it was a really good display, and it was good for our group and our guys to see that, hey, if you want to be the best, that's it right there. That's the level, right? It's doing the simple things consistently well. Those guys didn't do anything special, right? They knew where each other were gonna be, right? They completed their passes, right? They played the right passes at the right time with the right weight, and they were clinical in front of goal. And we lost 6-0, so it was another level. It was another level, and it was really good to see, for a lot of our guys. I mean, obviously playing for a long time in the USL, I played against quite a few MLS teams in Open Cup and everything like that. Played against like Pachuca, for instance, in a friendly when I was at OKC, and it's like that's type of level, man. It's like guys are popping the ball around, and sometimes you're trying to keep up with it, on the field. So it's sometimes when you think that you're at a good level and you're playing well and you're flying, and then you go play a team, it just humbles you. So it was a humbling moment for our guys, to say that's the level, and I need to put in a lot of work to get there. So, but yeah, it was good.
Sure. Amen, bro. Amen. Yeah, if you could just, take us, obviously you've been a pro for 10 years. If you could take us real quick, just through, a day in your life in season at Chattanooga, just for the younger guys and girls watching, really, learn how to take care of themselves. And obviously you are where you are because of the routine you have,
Yeah.
and how you take care of yourself. So, yeah, what time you wake up and how your morning looks, what you eat for breakfast before training, and things like this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give two different scenarios. So I'm like coaching a lot now, right? And that's just recently I've because I'm want to get involved in coaching, so I've been coaching quite a bit here lately. But before I started coaching, my routine was so training at 9 a.m., right? So anywhere getting up anywhere from like 6:45, 7, you have your breakfast and do your little I do my little pre-workout at home, maybe like just not a full yoga session, 5-10 minutes just to get my body loose, to get up for the day. Um, don't have a heavy breakfast. I normally go with just, some fruits, or sometimes like depends on what we have here. We go with like a bagel, cream cheese and stuff like that. Then have a little coffee. I've been a big fan of coffee lately, so I have like a cup of coffee. Show up to the stadium. We're there at 8:15 every morning, so at the stadium, and then I get into my actual pre-training routine, and it's so I go a little bit of activation, right, with just body weight stuff. It's my your squats, your side lunges, your just open
Exactly.
up the hips and ankles, some ankle mobility, glute bridges, turning the glutes on. And then I go into my mini band activation, and that has anything to do with from squats. You have your lateral marches, right? Your forward, backward marches, so on and so forth. Your leg raises, and I'm sure you have a plethora of all these on your platform.
Yeah.
So from there, head out to training and get to training. So train starts at 9. Get off the field anywhere from, depending on the day, 10:30, sometimes 11. From training, straight home, have lunch, and then from lunch, hang out for about an hour, hour and a half, then straight into the gym for a second session. And depending on the day, that could look like a mobility session, or it could look like a strength session, which is just maintenance. So if it's like on a Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, for me, it's like I do a little bit more. And if it's like a Thursday or Friday, a little bit less, right? So a little bit of flexibility, some core, some mobility,
Mm,
closer to the game because we normally play on Saturdays.
for
So from
sure.
there, I'm back home, kick the feet up again, back home about like 3 o'clock, right?
Mm,
3 o'clock, 3:30, kick the feet up again. Just kind of coming down from the day from 2 sessions. And then from there in the late afternoons, and I'm only trying to do something just like that's just gonna bring me down, right? And so I can get ready for bed. So I normally either I foam roll and stretch, right? Or I will go to do like a float, like the sensor deprivation tank, right? Where you just lay in like a big Epsom salt, pretty much Epsom
yeah.
salt bath, right? And I'm a big fan of Epsom salt bath. And you just lay there and you just chill out for 90 minutes and it just kind of brings the mind down. So for me, I use that as a time to kind of reflect a little bit, right? And I think about my last game. After I finish playing, I watch film and I use that time to kind of just put the pieces together and dissect the game. And then from there, come back home and have some dinner. And I'm with the family, man. I have a wife and a baby, so
Awesome.
if my wife is gone to bed earlier, the baby is gone to bed, I normally watch film again, right? Maybe I'll watch an old game or watch a little film of the opponent that we're about to play on the weekend.
Mm.
And if not, then if they're up, then we'll just watch a movie and then we'll go to bed. So that's like if I'm not coaching, when I wasn't coaching. So now since I'm coaching, that time that I used to go to the separate sensory deprivation tank, and now turns into coaching time, right? So second session, then I'm back home, and I kick my feet up, and then I'm back out to coach, and
Yeah.
then I'm home a little bit later in the night, probably like 8:30,
Uh-huh.
and with the family dinner when they go to bed, I quickly foam roll, I quickly
Mm.
stretch.
Mm.
I sneak in some film. I always try to sneak in a little bit of film before bed, and then I try to get it into bed. Sometimes if I'm really good, 10:30. If it's a late night, anywhere from like 11:30, I'm in bed. And so, and that's because I have so much going on, right? When I was younger, I was getting like 12 hours of sleep, man, and I was flying, feeling great. So that I suggest to young players, man, get your at least 8 hours. Get your 8 hours, and that's sufficient enough because the body only recovers while you're sleeping, right? Because that's the only time you produce the hormone that heals your muscles. That's the only time your hair grows, your nails, and that's the only time the human growth hormone. That's the only time when you're sleeping that you produce it. So get your
One.
sleep. Play young players, get your sleep, and don't be up at 3 a.m. playing Xbox.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
I mean, dude, all the players listening, you could just hear the dedication in that. I mean, the guy just, is completely dialed in, and massive respect for you. And you are where you are because of the dedication. It's just that simple. There's no secret. There's no trick, So, yeah, man, it's class. What are you usually having for lunch and dinner?
So lunch, and I'm big on lunch. I'm big on dinner. Like I said, breakfast for me. Most
Yeah.
days it's fruits. Yep. Sometimes it's always light. For me, I'm big on lunch. So I'll come home, and if so, I do at least 3 second sessions a week.
Mm.
So if on the days that I'm not doing a second session, I'll have a little heavier lunch. On the day that I am doing a second session, I have a little lighter. But it's always some kind of starch, whether it's potatoes or rice. We're big on rice here at my house, so potatoes or rice or sweet potatoes. I'm not a big fan of pasta. That's just because I didn't grow up eating it. I'm a big fan of like grains and things from the ground,
Sure.
and so that's always my starch. And then we only eat fish and chicken. Yes, fish, chicken. Sometimes we eat some beef.
Class.
So my wife makes different type of chicken, and the browns. She curry it sometimes, brown stew. She
Mm.
sometimes
Mm.
barbecue it, um, and then steamed veggies. So we're really big on steamed veggies. So if I'm not having like a full salad, like a raw salad, it's always steamed veggies, and that goes anywhere from like corn, green beans, carrots,
Mm.
just the whole host there of steamed veggies. So most of the times I eat what I had for lunch, I have the same thing for dinner.
Mhm.
Just because we just do it in bulk, so it's
Yeah.
convenient. And but yeah, that's mostly it. You got your uh, chicken or fish, sometimes beef for dinner. Yeah, so
Mm.
because sometimes you get tired of eating the same thing, so sometimes I have like a little bit of steak, for dinner every now
Sure.
and then. And then sometimes we just go vegan, man. Sometimes it's just we feel like we've been having. For me, I feel like if I have too much meat, like continuously over and over, I'll just go like a week or 2 weeks of just eating no meat,
Mm.
and it kind of clears my system out. And that's it's just for me. It's just how I feel. I was
Mm.
for probably like a year and a half when I was in St. Louis. I went with a pescatarian diet, right? So
Nice.
I just had fish. I just ate fish and veggies, and obviously starches, but that's the only meat that I ate, and that was the best I felt my whole career, right?
Interesting.
So every now and then we'll just maybe like a week or 2 weeks we'll go vegan, and then from there we start adding things back in.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just all about listening to the body, seeing what
Yeah.
works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds really, really good. I know you got to get going soon. I'll just end off with some last questions here.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, we take your time. Take your time. Let's not rush it.
okay, brother. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we talked about, some quality things, and I think it's all about, giving the guys and girls listening that practical knowledge to input into their life. And I think it's worth it to rewatch this, or take some notes. I mean, I think, it's been really, really class. One thing I do want to ask is, you talked about sensory deprivation and stuff like this. And I think as footballers, especially, pro footballers and footballers who are looking to continuously push to the next level, we're always thinking about football. And just like you said with sleep, from a recovery standpoint, I think it's also very beneficial sometimes to unwind from football, whether it's a
Yeah.
day, whether it's half a day. So, obviously you said you have a family, which is excellent. How do you unwind from football?
So, and that's actually a really good question, because that's my life, it's been my life for a very long time. And so, when I didn't have a family, it was finish training, and as a footballer, you have so much free time, man. You play. We're done with training at 11 a.m. most days, and you come home at lunchtime, and a lot of time it's just chilling there, and whether it was watching a TV show or going to have a coffee with friends, or going to play some, bowling or whatever. That's kind of how I did it. And I'm a really big fan of doing, because like I said, football in my life, and for anybody that loves the game, right? It consumes you, but if you don't disconnect, it's very hard to kind of see where what direction you're headed in, right? So every now and then, man, I like to just like step away, step out of it, and say, okay, well, this is where I'm at, right? This is where I want to go. Am I going in the right direction, right? And the way that I do that is sometimes, man, it's just going to hang out with friends outside of football, right? Somebody that doesn't even understand the game, somebody that doesn't. It's really good sometimes to hear from somebody who doesn't understand football, and I've never played football before.
For sure.
Just ask them any random question. Hey, you came to the game the other day. What did you think?
Yeah.
And it's a conversation that it can kind of test you as well, right? To explain to somebody something that they don't understand, and so it tests your knowledge where, well, in this situation, the reason why this happened, blah, blah, blah. And so disconnect from it to then come back to it, if that makes sense, right?
Mhm.
So, I
Mhm.
mean, now with my 2-year-old daughter, and my wife, and coaching a lot, man, it's all football. And how I disconnect is the 90 minutes I get in the central deprivation tank, which I'm actually about to go when we get off here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the 90 minutes that I get to just, completely shut down, completely shut off, and, just kind of look at life from the outside, and just
Mhm.
look at everything from a holistic point of view.
100%.
Um, how do I switch off from football? It's a tough one. It's a tough one, to be honest. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah. No, and I think what you say is so valuable. And that's why I think those sensory deprivation tanks are so valuable. It's because, we're constantly being everything's trying to take our attention. There's so much stimuli from all over, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, all this crap, there's notifications. So it's
Yeah.
like, how can you disconnect, like you said, and look at everything from a macro standpoint? So whether it's, like you say, going in that sensory deprivation tank, for me, I love like just going on like nature walks without my phone, just thinking,
Hmm.
you know. And yeah, I think it's so valuable. And the reason I love this question is because, I think a lot of players think that it needs to be 24/7, which, like, for, you have to be looking after yourself. It is a full-time, more than a full-time job. It's a full-time gig. It's your life.
Right.
There needs to be a time where you unplug a little, because like you said, like, this one neuroscientist that I love, Andrew Huberman, he talks about like high performers. We have a, an on and off switch. You got to be able to turn it on. You got to be able to turn it off. You can't always be on, because then when you step onto the pitch, you might not be able to bring your full quality, concentration, and attention, you know?
Yeah, that's absolutely, man. That's absolutely correct. I would say, going back to that question, for me right now, the way that I disconnect is like when I'm with my family, right? So when I'm around, and my daughter's two and a, she's 2 years, 6 months, right? She understand that dada goes and kick the ball every Saturday, and she's there and she comes down on the field with me. But whenever we're home, like whenever I come home, and we're unwinding, we're watching a Netflix, whether a movie or a show or whatever, that's the moment, man. For me, there's never any football there, right? It's just about enjoying time with my family. Afternoons when I come home and I don't have a coaching session, I'm taking my daughter out for a walk. We're going walking down by the river, or we're going to the creek, to go swim in the creek, or sometimes we go up to the mountain to watch the sunset. And
Nice.
I'm a really big family guy, man. Family is everything for me. So, it's constantly on the phone with my folks back home in Jamaica, in Florida, and with my family here. It's just enjoying life, man. Life has so much to offer, and it's just realizing that even for me here, football, like I'm gonna be a player for a small fraction of my life. I'm gonna live longer than I'll ever play football, right? So it's about how can I connect, with different people and different things and different activities outside of football, because at the end of the day, that's going to be most of my life, right? And for me, most of it is just through my family, enjoying life with my family. When there's no Saturday night lights, when there's no ball, when my teammates are not around, my coach, right? It's like, okay, it's just you and your life. Just enjoy it. Right. So, all right, let's go out for a dinner. Let's go bowling. Let's go watch a sunset, so on and so forth.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I love that. It's class. And I think that's what children really teach you, man. Like just enjoying the little things, every step, not overcomplicating things and just being in that present moment, I mean, you can
Absolutely.
know more than I know, but that's just what I observe.
Yeah, no, it's a life changer, man. It's a life changer, just even the simple thing, of teaching somebody how to kick a ball. Like, when you're a footballer and you're, oh man, I can do this, I can do that, blah, blah, blah. Now I got to teach my little 2-year-old, okay, no, this is how you kick it. You don't pick it up. It teaches you like, man, those things are so important because everybody's learning, right? At the end of the day, no matter where you are, even for me, I'm still learning. Now my 2-year-old's learning the basic. For me, I'm learning now how to be a better teammate, right? A better leader, a better captain.
Mm,
Those are the things that I'm always thinking about, man. It's man, how can I better serve my team? How can I better serve the guys to make them feel like they belong, right? And that like they're valuable, they're valuable people, and
it's
not
class.
just what they can do as a footballer, but as a human being, how can I let them feel that, hey man, I really appreciate you, and how can I it's and that's because that's life, right? And
Yes,
these guys, like most players, when you play at a professional level, you meet guys and you're with them for a year or 2 years, or and then they're gone, right? But
mm,
it's the relationships that always stays, man. So it's just connecting with people, man. Connecting with people and realize that at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure it out, man. As a footballer, you're trying to be better. You're trying to go to the next level. You're trying to just continue to enjoy the game and try to achieve something that is valuable to you. And as a just a human being, you're just trying to connect with people.
mm,
And so
mm.
yeah, just tying it all together, man. And when I'm with football, I'm trying to make people better and make people feel valuable. When I'm not with football, it's the same thing.
Yeah. No, that's class, man. And I think the whole, I was going to ask you a question on how to be a good captain, a good leader, which we could get into a little bit. But I think if you really, like we talked about, take a look at this podcast from a macro standpoint, this conversation, you can hear that you're a natural, you're a leader, you want to impact people. You want to, make them feel comfortable, make them feel at home. That's the goal, and leave a good impact on no matter who it is. Um, so yeah, man, no, I appreciate that, and I'm sure that's why the club's doing so well. It's those little things that really add up.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, like I said, Eric, at the end of the day, man, at this level, at the professional level, we're all just trying to eat, right? We're trying to be better footballers. We're trying to go to the next level, and we're trying to enjoy the game, you know. And so, for me, what makes a good leader, right, and a good captain is just somebody that can get the best out of the other guys around them, right? And for me, it's going every day in training on the field, right, and off the field, just setting a good example, right? So you go in every day, right, and you set a high standard. You make a high standard, guys, right? We're gonna be on time. We're always gonna work hard, right? We're always gonna work for the man next to us. We're gonna push each other, but we're gonna be respectful, you know. And when things are not going well, we're gonna come together. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna try to figure it out as a group. You know, if one man is down, that's a chink in the chain that we gotta fix, right? Because then at some point that rotation is gonna happen and it's gonna fall apart, right?
Exactly.
So it's just making sure that everybody is taken care of, right? Whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, on the field, off the field, all around, right? It's just looking out for the human being, you know. Take the soccer player away, look out for the human being first, and then once the person is good, man, that person will run through a brick wall, you know, for anybody.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's how I look at it, man. It's just leading by example. But in order for your teammates to do that for you, you have to be able to do it for each and every one of them, for all 25 guys, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's class, man. And then this one psychologist I like, Jordan Peterson, always talks about, it's about changing one life at a time, because
Mm.
that one person has a node of a network. Maybe they have 50 people that they talk to regularly, but then those people know others. And it's like, how can you change that one person to change thousands? You know what I mean? And it's like you said,
Absolutely.
leaving that mark. No, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that, man. I really do. And last couple questions for you. Little quick fire round. You have one book recommendation for the footballers listening?
Ooh, ego is my enemy.
Ryan
So
Holiday?
yeah, that's let me yeah, Ryan Holiday. That's it. Yeah, that's a good book. I tell you, that's a really good book. I got given by a friend, read it a couple of years ago. I was like, yeah, that's what I needed, and I feel like that will add value to anybody's mindset.
For sure, bro. If you could have one billboard anywhere in the world, let's say in the U.S., what would it say? What would it say, and where would you put it?
Oh man, what would it say? That's a tough one. I would say let's just off the top of my head, let's um do the best you can for the next guy, so he can do it for the guy next to him, or for the next person so they can do it for the person next to them,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
the way I look at that is, on the field, I always, tell any player, if you can do 100% of your job and 50% of the guys around you, that team will be unbreakable. And if everybody does that, that team will be unbreakable. So just that's kind of direction,
Mm-hmm.
100% of your job, 50% of the person next to you. And I
Love
put
it.
that in Times Square for sure.
I love that. I love that. Big audience there. Um, if you could go back to yourself at any age you wanted to and give yourself the wisdom you have today at 32, what age would you go to, and what would you tell yourself?
Man, I would go back, I think I would go back to age 12, man. When I made the decision that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I would go back to that age, and I would tell myself to don't be afraid to ask questions. Right? Don't be afraid to ask questions to the people that you see are doing something that are on the level that you want to do it at.
Mm,
And I think
mm,
that was the biggest thing for me as a young player, right? Is like kind of getting intimidated, like, man, that guy or that coach or that one, man, they're doing this thing at such a high level and I'm not quite there yet. I'm just gonna go sneak a peek and try to copy what they're doing instead I could just go ask, right? Say, hey, you mind showing me, blah, blah, how do you do this? How do you do that? And they can actually explain it to me and I can, save myself the right information. I forgot what so our assistant coach, he showed us the statistic. The right information can accelerate learning by like 8 months,
Mm,
and so maybe going to talk to somebody and, hey, can you mind showing me or telling me how to do that? They actually give you the steps and the blueprint. Bam.
100%.
Instead of trying to figure it out yourself and not knowing what to do, which is good, right? To figure it out and make the mistakes, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually have the information and the pathway, accelerate your learning, and then you can move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing quicker. So I would go back to 12 when I fell in love with the game, and I would that's what I would tell myself. Ask questions to the people that are doing things at a level that you want to do it at.
No, man, I love that. That's I haven't heard that so direct before, and I could relate to that myself. Like, for example, some younger players on my team, like I just say to them, like, why don't you ask me? Just ask me the question.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Ask it earlier because I would love to give the information. I'm not the guy that's going to go tell them do this, do that. Like, if they ask, I'll tell them, but I'm not going to
Right.
be. I like to lead by example and things like that, and not to talk more with my actions and my words. But sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they say something, I'm like, why didn't you ask me earlier? I would have loved to help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And not everybody wants information as well, right? And so you can't read everybody's mind. So I mean, if somebody comes and asks and you give it, then yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, man. There's no the high performing people ask questions, So ask more questions.
100%. I love that. Um, and then I wanted to ask you, I'm going to have another guest on next week. If you could ask them a question, what is a question that you would like to ask the next guest that they could answer for the audience?
Yeah, I would ask them a twofold question. What has been the biggest lesson that they've learned so far being a pro? And what is something that they the biggest challenge that they've had, right? So, and it could be the same answer. What's been the biggest lesson they've learned, and what's the biggest challenge that they've faced as a pro, and how did they overcome it? So, I guess a threefold question.
Okay, so let's finish the podcast off with that because that's a great question for yourself. I mean, we've heard what your journey, your obstacles, your highs and lows, but just to finish, because that's a great question. Just if you could finish that off yourself.
Yeah. So, the biggest lesson I've learned, man, so far as a pro is that, and we've been saying it over and over, you know, it's all up to you and it's all in your control, right? Not all of it, right? Because some things you can't control, but at the end of the day, you can control your effort, you can control your decision making, right? The choices you make, and you can control your attitude. So I would say the biggest lessons I've learned is that if you just show up with the right mindset, right, and the right attitude, and you come with a plan to make a little bit of progress each time, right, and you stick with that plan, it's gonna I mean, years down the road, months and years down the road, you're gonna be in a much better place than if you just come and you try to be the next Ronaldo or Messi in one session, right? So I would say just come with the right mindset, the right attitude of just doing the simple things well consistently, and just add that up day by day, and in few months, years, you're gonna be in a way better place, right, than you would with otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest lesson. The biggest challenge that I faced, obviously, was my time in St. Louis when, was supposed to be at the height of my career, and um, it all got taken away, got humbled by the game. That's the biggest challenge. And the way that I overcame that was just by asking questions, right? Asking questions to my therapist and the different people around in my support system, and then actually not just getting the information just to get it, because there's information available to everybody, right? But actually applying the information and applying the different things to my game, right, and to my routine and to my life, and that's how I overcame that tough time.
That's class, Richie, bro. I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a fantastic conversation, and I know people are gonna learn a lot from this one. And man, I wish you the best of luck with your playing career and with coaching. I know you're gonna be a fantastic coach. So yeah, man, really appreciate it, and kill it the rest of the season, and then go enjoy that sensory deprivation tag, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, listen, I appreciate you, man, and just want to say, while we're on the record, hey, like I said before, there's not many pros out there. There's not many, actually, not many people in the industry that actually, you know, say it for what it is, right?
Yeah.
And there's a perception of being a pro is, and then there's the reality, right? And
Mhm.
so I just applaud you, man, for what you've been doing with your platform, right? Not just sharing the information and helping people, but actually, you know, painting the picture of what it really is like to be a pro and to be a footballer, you know, performing at a high level and a aspiring young player that's trying to get to the next level. So continue to do what you're doing, man. You're helping a lot of people. And I wish I had this right here when I was a young player, you know? And so the fact that, you know, players are able to log on and, you know, what we're going to hour and a half, you know, see almost 90 minutes of, you know, a whole pro journey and different advice and tips. It's great, man. And I love what you're doing and continue to keep up the good work, brother.
I appreciate it a lot, man. I really means a lot coming from you. So thank you, man. Thank you.
Hey, my bro, we'll connect soon. All right.
Good, for
Appreciate
sure.
you. Take
Stay
care.
healthy, man. Peace out,
Thanks,
bro.
bro. Bye bye.
See you.